Hi everyone, I thought I'd take some time today and go through the methods, the steps involved for purchasing a property as a cash buyer or as a finance buyer, and selling your property as a finance buyer and as a finance seller. Each one of them has a different process, and it's very important that when you're purchasing a property, you fully understand or are aware of all the steps involved. So to start, let's go through the most complex or longest process of all. It's when there's a finance buyer and a finance seller. Now, the first step in this process is that the finance buyer needs to have a pre-approval. So his bank needs to approve him for a particular amount, and the property needs to be in that particular price. Now, once that's done, then the property will be valuated. So the bank of the buyer will send someone to the property to valuate the property. Once that's complete, the bank will send a final offer letter stating that we have approved Mr. So-and-so for this amount to purchase the property in so-and-so building. Then the seller needs to go and apply for a liability letter. A liability letter states exactly how much he owes to his bank. When that letter is ready, the bank of the buyer will clear that loan. So they will write a manager's check for that amount to the bank of the seller and clear the amount. It will take the bank then approximately 5-6 working days to clear that loan. Once the loan has been cleared, a final letter will come from the bank of the seller, which is called a clearance letter. With that letter in hand, with the clearance letter, they can now go and apply for an NOC. The buyer and the seller, along with the bank of the buyer, will go to the developer and apply for an NOC. Now, this depending on whether you pay a VIP fee for NOC or just a normal NOC, the amount of days that it takes for that NOC to be ready varies. When the NOC is ready, the seller will go and collect the NOC, and along with the NOC, the clearance letter, the seller's and buyer's passport copies, they will book an appointment with the bank of the buyer and go for a transfer. Now, we don't usually need an appointment to go for a transfer, but because the bank of the buyer is involved, the bank of the buyer needs to set a time that suits him to come for the transfer. All parties will go together, and the remainder amount that's outstanding, the difference from the loan that was cleared of the seller, will be handed to the seller in full on the day of transfer, and the new title deed will be named in the name of the buyer and will be sent to him within 3 working days. Now, just to recap, the steps involved again are: first, the buyer needs a pre-approval. Then a valuation needs to be done of the property. Then a final offer letter from the bank of the buyer stating the exact amount and how much is approved for. Step 4, seller applies for a liability letter in the name of the bank of the buyer. Step 5, the buyer's bank will clear the loan. Step 6, seller's bank will take approximately 5-6, maybe 7 working days to process this and prepare a clearance letter. Step 7, the buyer and the seller will go for an NOC from the developer. Step 8, the seller will go and collect the NOC. And step 9, the buyer and the seller will arrange with the bank of the buyer to go for the transfer, where the remaining amount of the money outstanding to the seller will be given to him in full. Hope this minute has been useful, and thank you for joining us here at ELYSIAN.